What is up, everybody? It is Hector Flores from InsertName FC. The clip that you're going to be watching is an interview with Eddie Robinson. Eddie Robinson is a four-time MLS Cup champion, played for the San Jose Earthquakes, and then moved with the Earthquakes to Houston to become part of the Houston Dynamo, where he then won the two first MLS Cups in the team's history, in their first 2 years of the team's history. Um, this interview was pretty special to me because when I started InsertName FC, I wanted to bring in certain people to interview. I had my list of people that I wanted to interview, and uh, and Eddie Robinson is in fact one of those people. So it was really awesome to get the interview with Eddie Robinson. I'm going to give you guys a heads up. He was supposed to be off. Unfortunately, he got called into work, and because of that, that's why the interview was in his car. Um, he said he was fine with just doing the interview in the car, so that's what we did. Hopefully, we can bring Eddie Robinson back in for more soccer discussions because he was very professional, very informative. Everything that he talked about basically were things that I've been curious about over the years of being a Houston Dynamo fan. So it was really awesome, great perspective. I think an interview that I think any person, not just a soccer fan, will definitely enjoy. So I'll go ahead and stop talking and let you guys enjoy InsertName FC's interview with Eddie Robinson. Which, if you guys want to see the full episode of InsertName FC, episode 159, you guys can go ahead and check in the description how you can listen to us. InsertName FC, we drop new episodes every Friday. So if you guys want to know, check the descriptions and you can see how you can reach us out on social media as well as how you can listen to us as well. And obviously give love to BellyUpSports. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you'll be notified when you start seeing more content from BellyUpSports. So enjoy.
Are you ready to elevate your sports betting experience? Look no further than DraftKings Sportsbook. Why choose DraftKings Sportsbook? Unmatched variety. Bet on your favorite sports leagues or discover new ones to follow. Live betting. Test your instincts and feel the adrenaline as you bet in real time while a game unfolds. Promotions and boosted odds. DraftKings keeps the excitement going with a range of promotions, odds boosts, and special offers. And a user-friendly interface. Whether you're a seasoned bettor or new to the game, DraftKings' intuitive platform makes placing bets a breeze. Ready to dive in? BellyUpSports has partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook to give you an exclusive offer. Sign up at dkng.co/BellyUp150 and new customers will get $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet $5 or more. Don't miss out on this opportunity to take your love for sports to the next level. Sign up today and let the games begin. Please gamble responsibly. 21 years or older. Eligibility restrictions apply. See website for details.
What's up, guys? So we do have a special interview. You guys know when I started InsertName FC, I've had a list of everybody that I've wanted to have on since I started it, and I get to check off another name off that list. And of course, we have four-time MLS Cup champion, a National Soccer Coaches Association American, All-American, MLS All-Star, was on the MLS Best 11 for 2007, and a member of the North Carolina Soccer Hall of Fame. And that is, of course, one Eddie Robinson. Thank you so much for coming on.
Wow, quite the introduction. I very much appreciate that, but those are long in the past. Do not put me on a soccer field anymore.
That's fine. Don't have me and Edward on it either. But it's awesome. Obviously, it's an honor to have you on here. But obviously, first question we always ask everybody that we comment on the show, and it is, what exactly got you into soccer?
All right, before I answer that, I must apologize. I am in the car. I had some work come up at the last minute. So I hope everybody can bear with me, and it'll be okay. What got me into soccer? Well, I don't think it was one individual thing. When I was a kid, I lived in one of those neighborhoods that you see in a lot of movies where every other house has got a brother and a sister, a brother and a brother, a sister and a sister. And we had probably 15 to 20 kids. And we lived on this dead-end road that had two cul-de-sacs off it. So there were just tons of kids, plenty of places to play. So we would play baseball, we would play basketball, we'd play tag football, we'd play soccer, we'd play street hockey, but only when it was cold, even though we didn't need it to be cold to play street hockey for some reason. We waited for it to get cold in North Carolina. And I tried basketball, didn't really like the organizational part of it. Tried football, actually. And the very first day I was out there, not only did the coach spell my name wrong and put it on a piece of tape on my helmet, but he was grabbing me by my face mask. And this is Pee-wee, you know, I was 8 years old, and was yelling at me, shaking the face mask and yelling at me, Roberson, that's not what you do. And I was like, sorry, coach, I've never played organized soccer or football before. So I went home. I told my parents, I'm not doing this. This is ridiculous. The next week, the coach is calling my parents, hey, he's the fastest guy we got. He's the only one that can tackle. What do I got to do to get him out here? I don't want to. So my parents signed me up for soccer, and I took to it immediately. And I enjoyed it, and I was very competitive. And just based on playing all of the different sports in an unorganized fashion with the kids in my neighborhood, you help develop just a certain level of athleticism that goes to help with soccer. So I played pretty much every level, starting at rec soccer, going up through the club stuff, ODP, for those that are old enough to know what that is, and then eventually on to college and professional. But when really what got me is just how competitive it was, how much fun it was, and the rest is history, I guess.
So for obviously, you know, the big talk has been soccer capitals. I think Greg Berhalter kind of started that with St. Louis. And you know, we have these regions that, you know, Florida, New Jersey, that have been able to bring out a lot of soccer talent to the US. But I think a lot of people sleep on North Carolina. For someone, I actually lived in North Carolina for 5 years when I was serving in the Marines. And so
Yep.
I got to see the soccer culture in North Carolina. Um,
Yep.
what is it that everybody's sleeping on North Carolina when it comes to the soccer culture over there?
It's small and it's not sexy. Everybody thinks North Carolina, they think Hicks in the mountains and beach bums at the beach, and kind of forget about the middle of the state, Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro, where you get a lot of the better players come from. There's obviously a lot of guys, Eddie Pope, Greg Berhalter himself went to the University of North Carolina. I spent every year but the first 3 months of my life in North Carolina. There were some really good coaches, and there wasn't a lot of competition. So coaches weren't bouncing around trying to collect a paycheck. The really good coaches had the three best jobs, which was Raleigh, Charlotte. It wasn't all about let's just win. Where in Houston, you have more clubs than you can count. I have absolutely no clue. There's got to be probably 100 in the Houston area. So there's tons of money, and a lot of coaches do it for the wrong reasons, unfortunately. But it isn't a problem. And something I think that's very underrated about North Carolina is cultural diversity. It's very diverse in North Carolina. So you have a lot of people who are fans of the game, who raise the keeps getting better with more and more on television. But I really do believe that the leadership there, the coaching leadership especially, is something that's been really impressive for a very long time.
So obviously you get drafted to the San Jose Earthquakes after a good career in the University of North Carolina. For you, as soon as you got drafted in, was there a player in that locker room that kind of took you under their wing as a mentor?
As a mentor, well, Troy Dyack, who was also a center back, he had a lot of the same character traits as me. Very aggressive, very mean. Once he steps on the field, he doesn't care who you are, if you're friends or not. He wants to win and he wants to crush you. And that was mean. So I got a lot from him. But then you had Jeff Akers, who's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, very level-headed, very cerebral. Jimmy Conrad the same way. In the midfield, Ronnie Eklund was one of the most underrated players I've ever come across. You had Landon Donovan, Manny Lagos, Dario Groves. A lot of these names, a lot of your fans are probably haven't heard of before, but these guys were just, Mark Chung is another one. And then later on you had Carter Clark and Brad Davis. And what I loved about those teams is everyone in their own way was a mentor to all of the young guys. We policed our own locker room. Dominic Kinnear didn't need to. If you weren't performing every single day in training, every single Saturday night, if you weren't absolutely busting your tail every day to be the best player on the field, the hardest working player on the field, you heard about it from your teammates. You didn't have to wait and hear about it from the coaches. And that's why I believe we were so successful for as long as we were, is just because we held each other accountable. Just don't do that. Really don't. Especially what irks me, as soon as the final whistle blows, I turn the games off because you've got too many guys that are on the losing team that are smiling, laughing, talking with their opponents. We couldn't get to the locker room fast enough to throw things, scream and yell cuss words in vicinity because we were so disappointed. And the greatest thing, it was like that in training too. If we lost a small-sided game, we were angry. Don't talk to me, kid. And that part of the competitive nature of the game has been lost on a lot of the younger players now. I think a lot of that has to do with the money that they're making versus what we made, the amount of social media that there is versus when we were playing. There are a lot of factors that go into it. But, as far as mentors, I think every player that was older than me that had been around in MLS and prior to MLS, they had their own way of giving me something, and I was very grateful for all of the teammates that I had and for all the fun times we had. Gosh, there's some stories I can't tell on here, but it just made that bond with my father so much stronger.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you actually had to go through a very unique situation where obviously you guys were San Jose Earthquakes, and then come 2006, you're moving to Houston, and now you're a player for the Dynamo. What was that transition like? Was that something that you guys were knowing were going on in the behind the scenes, or did they just, hey, guess what, we're moving to Houston?
We knew. All we heard were rumors. We knew what the public knew. That wasn't made known to us in the locker room around the team. We weren't sure. We had, like I said, we had rumors that it might be, that it's possible that it may happen. Then when it did, full credit to Phil Anschutz, the Anschutz group, who also owned the LA Galaxy at the time. They made that transition as easy as possible. They flew in all the married couples, engaged couples, to come down for a long weekend prior to the team actually moving here and preseason starting, so we could start the process of looking for houses, looking for schools for our kids, maybe getting to know the area of Houston a little bit. And then when time came to move, they took care of every single expense that was necessary, and made the transition amazing, absolutely amazing. And we knew that it was a job. This could happen again. We could be traded the next day, and it's just, instead of a trade, it was the entire team. And the fact that our team was so close and the wives so close, we had a support system. All of us did in that transition, in getting to know the area, in having friends, family, and people. If we needed help with something, we had plenty of people to help us. So I didn't mind the move one bit. It was very simple and very clean, very smooth. I will say the biggest disappointment of all of it was the first time we went back to San Jose. All that we had done for that city as far as MLS soccer goes, post the Quakes, the original Quakes, um, we were treated very, very poorly by most of their fan base. They were calling us names, yelling at us. I didn't expect for them to root for us, but in warm up, maybe just a clap, maybe a welcome back kind of thing. But they were awful. They were awful, and from that point on, it's taken me years to get over that because we really did care about that city. We really did care about that, and the success that we had after Dom and Frank Gallup came in, and the team was the worst in the league the year prior. And the trades that they made, players they brought in, it deserved a better reception than what we received from those fans.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that the whole situation was unfortunate. I think what at least that I liked that they did was obviously the history. The San Jose Earthquakes stayed with San Jose. It wasn't like the Houston Dynamo kept the other those two MLS Cups from them as well. But and there's a lot of people that always heckle the Dynamo fans that the first two MLS Cups in the team's history. That's technically it belongs to San Jose. Which for if you're a Houston sports fan, you get you're considered asterisk city at some point because of the World Series is considered an asterisk. Even the Rockets back-to-back championships because they didn't have to face Michael Jordan. But what is your thoughts on that specific one that the two MLS Cups that you guys did win when you guys first came to Houston? Do you
Well,
believe that?
I think it's laughable that anybody, any fans, any players, anyone affiliated with San Jose Earthquakes think they have any right to wear their stars on the chest. I think that's laughable. If you don't want to put them on ours, okay, fine. But nobody in San Jose deserves to wear their stars. If anybody does, it does. But you can't just give the guys that one because there's no more of those guys left. So that's I can see the argument on both sides. But the one that outweighs the other is certain. Those are Houston. Those are ours. They're not San Jose, and that's too bad. I don't know. I wish I knew more about the circumstances surrounding that decision to leave a team in San Jose. Because even when we were successful from 01 to 05, the attendance wasn't so great at San Jose State first. So I was a bit surprised because MLS was starting its moves to the markets where they knew they would get good attendance and start helping teams make money, help the league make money, improve television contracts, get more games on TV, work towards making it a mainstream sport, which I believe 100% it is now in the United States. That's not easy to do when you have those other four. So I have 4 championships, and I am a Houston Dynamo player. I'm not a San Jose Earthquake player, but they are doing San Jose. I will say San Jose is doing a 50th anniversary celebration this summer, and I am going to attend that if possible. My plan is to attend that, to be a part of it, because at the end of the day, it is the history of soccer in the United States. There's a lot of very rich history there.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think you can talk about MLS history without the San Jose your periods, San Jose Earthquakes, for sure. Obviously you've had this amazing career going into the MLS. You obviously recognize being a member of the North Carolina Soccer Hall of Fame, being that physical presence in that back line. But obviously, there's always that moment that you understand that it's kind of time to move on from the game. And for you, what was that essentially for you where it was time to hang it up?
Um, well, there was there was no individual moment. It was a compilation of things where I realized that my career was coming to an end, and you have to be opportunistic in Major League Soccer. I think if anybody can tell you that, it's Taylor Twellman. Given, unfortunately, I hate that Taylor Twellman didn't win an MLS Cup and had to end his career early with 99 goals because of his concussion issue. But look what he's turned that into. And I felt that I didn't want to miss the boat on that. And Chris Canetti was kind enough to offer me a couple different jobs with the Houston Dynamo as one as club ambassador. So I did a lot of public speaking, charity events, that kind of stuff. He and James Clarkson offered me the assistant director's position for the Dynamo Youth Academy. So I did that for a little while. And then obviously the television, which I did for 11 years, the broadcast. And that was a lot of fun. Well over 300 games. And that's something I thoroughly enjoyed. So I wanted to make sure that I took those opportunities because I needed to make sure that I'm looking at my future and not just the present. And that's something a lot of professional athletes don't do. They can't see the forest through the trees. It's just right then and there. And you really need to be able to look at the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years.
When you did try on different hats after your retirement, what would you say was probably the tougher transition? Was it the coaching side or was it more so going into commentary?
Oh, it's definitely the coaching side. The commentary side, everyone thinks you just need to know the game. Well, you need to know how to present the game because a lot of guys nowadays, and I'm not going to name any names, but guys that have very high-profile jobs, that have high-profile names and high-profile history as American players are very, very poor at the color analyst job because they basically just simply repeat what the play-by-play analyst says, and they tell you exactly what you can see with your eyes. My goal always as a analyst was to pick out, especially on replays, things that your normal everyday soccer fan wouldn't look for, wouldn't notice. And all of a sudden, after 4 or 5 of these, let's say there's a run on the far post that begins at midfield that nobody's really looking at, but it's huge and it's super important to why a goal was scored and a counterattack. Those are the things I try to point out. I say, don't watch the ball, watch the player, watch their movement, and talk about why a goal was so important. That was, and I credit Glenn Davis with helping me out with that a lot. He really helped me with that. But knowing the soccer part, there's plenty of guys and girls out there that know the soccer part. There are very, very few that actually know how to present it the way an analyst should present it. So that one was, for me, the easiest, the most fun, and but I enjoyed all of the hardest was easily youth coaching. Again, everybody says, well, you know the game. That's the easy part. Well, yeah, I know that is definitely the easy part. But when it comes to putting ideas into into something that can be understood, comprehended by youth players, and then applied, that's very difficult to do, especially when you get kids that are 14, 15, and 16 that have maybe not been taught the correct way to do things or the correct way to see things. There's no one correct way to play the game, but there are different philosophies that cover every single style of play. And those are the things that when players get those bad habits, they're very tough to correct. So the coaching part was very difficult. I really enjoyed the ambassador part because I'm a people person. I like to talk to people, no matter who they are, where they are, what they do. I'm just a simple man, and that was fun. And now I'm doing none of those things.
No, I definitely can relate to that to that one right there. Um, Obviously, I think you know, especially now with social media having its presence in the game, I feel like the Dynamo definitely tried to do a lot of things in the earlier years, especially with YouTube. And obviously, one of my personal favorite uh projects that the Dynamo ended up doing was the Eddie Robinson show. I think that was kind of one of my
Oh,
favorite, personally, my favorite thing. It was just being able to see, your perspective on things that are currently going on in the game. And it's always also kind of a like crazy flashback to me knowing that it was you and Sebastian Salazar and now seeing where he's at now in his career. But how was that reached out to you? How did they approach you about that, the Eddie Robinson show?
they just asked if it'd be something I would be interested in. I said absolutely. Another thing that former athletes going into television have to face is that people are reluctant to be honest and truthful with them if they're bad. I was not good at television, and it would have only taken a couple of constructive criticisms from a few people to completely change that. The people that could have didn't want to because they didn't want me to turn around and say, "Oh, who you? Oh, anybody, somebody?" And that's not me. Anybody that knows that's not me. I'd rather have criticism that helps me get better than somebody tell me already what I'm doing correct. And that would have been the Eddie Robinson show. If we did it today, I would be a lot more candid. Now that I'm no longer affiliated with the organization anymore in any way, so I would be a lot more candid. It would be fun. I would go the Pat McAfee route probably.
That's definitely one of the things that I think of for sure. But obviously you tried all a bunch of things. Is there any like new projects that you're working on maybe now that's still going to be affiliated with the game?
No, no, no. Unfortunately, I think my time with soccer is over. I was left with a very bad taste in my mouth, the way that things were done with the Dynamo. So I never say never, but for me and soccer, I like to watch it still. I'll still watch every once in a while with the access that we have here in the United States now versus when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's unprecedented. It's all the different leagues that we can watch. So I'll still watch it, but as far as any other aspect of being involved in the game, I don't see it.
Yeah, well, hopefully, now that you know a little bit about InsertName FC, hopefully we can have you on. Hopefully when you have probably a little bit more convenience and more fun for it. But honestly, it's been an honor to have you on, and I hope to see you back in the game personally. Just I think you as a commentator, you gave me a perspective that I never got to understand until you were able to share it with along with Glenn Davis. Shout out to him. We've also had him on the podcast before. Um, you guys definitely did the game right, and I think it's one of the things that I enjoyed from commentary. Uh, but obviously, you were also part of a one of my favorite parts of the Houston Dynamo, which was that blue collar team that won those 2 MLS Cups and were consistently good. And I mean, blue collar. I think blue collar is the best way to describe you when it comes to playing style, and which I love personally, especially as someone that used to play defense. But
Yeah.
it's definitely been a pleasure, man. If you have anything that you want to share, whether that you have coming on or want to share your social media, by all means, this is your time.
Eddie Robinson 2 on Twitter. I don't post too much on Twitter. On Instagram, I usually just post stories of funny things I find. There's 2 posts that I always post. One is I'm not for everyone. The second one is I post stuff on social media to get a laugh. If that offends you, that probably makes me laugh too. So you know what you're going to get from me. when it comes to that. There's not a lot of soccer stuff anymore, though, but fun time and a little bit of food here and there because I'm a big food fan. So, you know, if you want to have a good laugh, please engage with me. Talk to me. You've got my contact info. I'll come on anytime you guys want to talk about anything. Like I said, I still do keep up with the game. I still watch the game. So if I've done well enough to pass the test and you want me back, let me know.
Oh, you definitely passed with flying colors, man. Thank you so much, Eddie Robinson, everybody. And we'll keep moving on with the rest of this podcast. So, Eddie Robinson, thank you so much for your time. I know time is very valuable. So I always appreciate that. But thank you once again.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.